Hey everybody, during my first Scrabble tournament of 2025, I played a game so crazy that I barely mentioned it in my tournament recap. And that's because I knew immediately it needed a video of its own. And in fact, I have enlisted some help for this one, and it's my opponent in the game, 2023 North American champion, and my good buddy, Josh Sokol. So together, we're going to analyze this game, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Fair warning, you have not seen very many Scrabble games quite like this. Enjoy. Okay, so Josh, you are going first in this game, and you have a bingo.
It was time.
To take me to the dark forest,
Take you to buy a pretzel.
earhole in the hyper volatile spot goes down. No hesitation. It's just gonna make a fun game.
I went into this tournament we were playing in Atlantic City with just one goal, and that was to have fun. Opening with ear hole like that, it's fun. And whatever happens after, I made the decision to have fun. And I know that there's just going to be a lot of luck involved with who gets there first, or if it gets blocked, and just got to try to make the best moves.
As soon as you played this, I had a big smile on my face. I did get a reprieve here that this is my only bingo, which is kind of merciful that I don't have to spend too much time thinking about the S hook right now, but I know that's coming unless you draw one right away. You challenge this word just to be sure. This is a Collins only word. And
Yeah.
then you draw some weird stuff here. When you see this and there's no S in it, which is kind of annoying, but then there's also an annoying Q to deal with.
Regive is nice because it sets up my queue for 31, plays 5 tiles, which is now important because 2 tiles, the S and the blank, have become even more valuable than usual.
I think this is a really cool play on your part.
The problem that I felt with this play is that, well, even if I get my queue down next turn, I still need to draw an S, and I don't want to play 1 tile.
I was sad because you blocked the Collins only warfared through this
Wow.
R. I don't have anything that conclusively blocks the spot, so I just played it straight up for equity, FAW for 28. It's also very nice to keep a nice bingo leave ending in ER or ED with a couple different spots. That would go down even faster if not for you now have to do a check every turn to see if you have a reasonable option that blocks ear hole, but in this situation I really didn't.
Before your play, I was going to play QI for 31. You gave me a spot to play an extra tile. My eye also scores better and brings me a little bit closer, slightly closer, twice as close to drawing an S or a blank.
And then I get LNT, which this is why you keep good bingo leaves. LNT might not normally be the best pick, but because you keep a good leave, it turns into antlered. Not a lot to think about. And back over to you. You got the Q off. The S spot has somewhat been obstructed, and you draw the X.
And this was really great. Just being able to just play EXO and keep 4 decent tiles. If I draw a bingo, it's almost certainly going to play on the M column, and I can also draw a bunch of plays from the EX to score to the triple.
Here, I make a pretty good sized mistake. I would love to play something through the L of earhole with all these overlaps, and maybe if I can slot the N, making re-given, that would be ideal to get a bunch of extra points with these low point tiles. I ultimately decided to play Loon. The thing I liked about this is that there are some situations where you draw an S that this may block. For example, if you have an A or an O, those da and do will no longer play after this. You would need an E or an I. So I know that I have an I on my rack heading into next turn. So that's part of the reason why the best play here of Alloyne for 30 is not so far and away the best, is that when I do draw an S after this, I might not draw the necessary vowel. Still, I get 6 extra points, get an extra vowel and tile pick out of the bargain. So back over to you, and you spot your only playable bingo here of pre-pave to make an even more volatile. Like now, there's a new triple lane open, an R and E, good bingo tiles to play through. So, and I have these letters. So after Loon, I am lucky enough to draw an S. computer engines would strongly suggest that I cash it here and just get my 44 or 47 points in that spot. And that's a lot of points. So why didn't I do it? I played iota instead, leaving SAI. So the I guarantees that I'll at least have one vowel that plays underneath nod. And ultimately, the reason I did this was that it just felt really unsatisfying to cash that spot for only 44 points. Those are the types of arguments that I'm trying to avoid a little bit. These arguments where it's just, well, I just didn't really want to. Like, I didn't really want to do this play. Well, if it was the right play, you should do it, whether you want to do it or not. But this already is a game of emotion. You've already played Earhole in this way that's going to be fun. So why not lean into having some fun here?
What's really funny is you played Iota, and I was really confused by your play. Like, the play just did not make any sense to me. I didn't understand what letters you had. I assumed that either you were making a mistake or you had a blank. It made me feel empathy towards you. It was like, "Oh, man, am I really just gonna win this game after I haven't drawn an S for so many turns and Will's having to play Iota for 14 points?" It didn't make any sense to me, and what's funny is after every turn, after every draw, I was looking at you because I wanted to see if I could get any reaction from your draw.
I'm
And after
curious.
every
Yeah.
draw, you were just smiling, and I was like, "Oh, that's a great reaction. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this too." And I remember saying something after this play. I was like, "Oh man, you deserve better," or something like that. I think that's what I said after
Yeah.
you made this play. And
Did I?
you did deserve better, and you should have played your S,
Yeah.
and that was what you deserved to do. But you wanted more, so you totally flipped the script on this play. I thought it was amazing when you told me you had the S, and analysis shows that this play, like, okay, it's maybe like technically worse. There's, I think, a 50% chance, a little bit more than 50% chance that I've drawn an S or a blank. But again, I need an I. I need specific letters to be able to cash that. If I have a rack like yours, yeah, it's very unsatisfying to play for 40, 50 points with such a powerful tool. And so it's really interesting. Like, the analysis shows that you're not really giving me that much more by leaving the spot open in this position, and it's really benefiting you more. The only problem is you're scoring 14 instead of 44 or 47.
Yeah. Big gap. We move on. You draw a couple sets of duplicated tiles here.
So I was in this position, and I started looking for blocks of ear hole for the first time. I was like, maybe I should consider blocking. It feels like I'm not going to get there, and I can't actually can't like do anything. I literally can't block it. So I was like, wait, why did I waste my time looking for that? Like, I should be going for it myself. I'm trying to have fun here. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try to play a lot of tiles again. First thing I looked for was overlaps of iota, and I completely missed my best play of Odic. And although this only plays 4 tiles rather than the 5 tiles I played for Cordial, it's still not worth 14 points.
I could easily see myself making a similar play in just making a priority of using as many tiles as possible. So it makes sense. Back to me. To my AIS leave, I draw the Z, which is great, but also the C and W along with another A. And I can play sick down low for 53, which is definitely something that crossed my mind. But the AAWZ leave is kind of weird and imbalanced. And the more standard play here, if I'm willing to take the risk, and at a minimum, 2 of your 7 tiles are not the S. So I go with the standard Capiz for 57. That does use up my vowel that I would use to play down there, which isn't ideal. If I can just redraw one of those, and if you don't draw an S, this is going to be a huge 1-2 punch, and I am now the one trailing in the game. So I feel like there is some benefit to me leaving it open, knowing that I for sure will have an S on my next turn.
Definitely, clearly the best play. You've almost tied the game up. I have somewhat awkward letters, and I need to deal with that. and still think about the S hook on ear holes. So yeah, I wasn't feeling great here and ended up playing J, but there was a potentially better move here of joypad, which you blocked similar scoring joypad through the first
Oh.
P, but I never saw this move. Really, really difficult word to find over the board. It's a word I know, but I think it makes more sense to once again play some extra tiles and try to get there. And that's been like on my mind the whole game, and it's been on your mind until you did get there, and then you're like, "Well, I'm there. What do I do now? Why don't I just do other stuff?" And it was just a really hilarious situation where I had no idea if you had an S, you had no idea if I had an S, and we were just playing.
Now the time finally comes after you play J, where I really have no other option but to cash it. It's by far my best choice. I have nowhere else on the board that gets me anywhere close to this number of points. So I play Oz for 63. Definitely the right play here, I think. Not too much to talk about. Keeping BIG. This is maybe the funniest part of the game from my perspective. I play Oz for 63. I'm thinking, man, maybe I just beat Josh to this race. He could easily have the S's and blanks, and I just barely beat him to it. My 4 tiles out of the bag after I play this move were S, S, S blank. Which is one of the craziest draws ever. I had to immediately laugh.
It might be the most incredible four tile draw of all time. From my perspective, you were laughing and I was thinking, okay, well, I'm probably not in great shape here, but it could be anything. It could just be, oh, that was so much fun, playing through the Pretzel Conundrum and beating you to the punch, and now it's like an even game. It could just be that. It feels to me the most karmic of outcomes for you to finally hit the spot, and then your reward, you draw every other single letter that fits in the spot on a
Yeah,
4 tile draw.
yeah, it's
Amazing.
it's pretty sick.
What I will say, I do feel like I make these plays out of empathy in some manner because it is lucky to open with a bingo. It happens maybe 1 in 6 or 7 times, and it puts you in a very commanding position. I kind of, at the same time as I want to challenge my opponents to play well and navigate situations, I
Yeah.
also kind of feel bad when I just draw an opening bingo. My opponent's going to get there before me most of the time if they play their cards right, and that's okay. Um, I did that assuming that risk.
One extra point. I scored 63 points playing Oz on that turn. And in the turns around that, I played 57-point Z play. You played an 87-point bingo and a 46-point J play in another spot. These aren't orders of magnitude different scores than the score I ended up cashing in that spot. And meanwhile, you still are going to be up a tempo here, and you made a very nice play. That's by far your top scoring play, top equity play. And then with my draw of the aforementioned 3 S's and a blank to my big, so my rack is now big S and a blank. I actually did see the bingo on my rack quickly, which is kind of a weird butterfly effect from playing Iota earlier. Somehow I now have a playable bingo with this rack of a weird alternate spelling of gossips with a B. You did not challenge this, Josh. You must have been either familiar with it or this word is too messed up that I would never bluff with this or
Yeah. No, I was not at all familiar with this in the slightest. I was just thinking about it. I was thinking about how you laughed. I was thinking who I'm playing against. And I was just like, 5 points. Like I could give him 5 points for this, but that would give him way too much credit. Like there's no way you could ever make this word up
bluff this,
and
yeah.
and play this on me. And maybe one day I'll eat those words. But, until now, I've been right about that sort of
Yeah.
assumption of not challenging Will Anderson when he plays a really, really, really weird word in a situation where I should just challenge if I have any doubt about it.
And then you, to your OUT leave, you draw duplicates of all of those tiles and an I. The score is still semi close. If you can get your rack into bingo shape, you might still have a shot at this, but this is not a good draw for you.
Here I determined I needed to play a bingo to win the game, so I could deal with my rack a little bit better by playing output through the pre-pave. The issue with that play is it blocks the best sevens lane on the third row. I decided to go into defense mode, take out a scoring spot, leave more of the board open.
All three of your vowels parallel to G if you just leave it open. Whereas if you play something with UG, that spot is now dead with all the S's, blanks, and H's used up. So this is still a viable lane for you after your play. So it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a close game, and I ultimately played Metif for 39, reasoning that yes, I am opening an E and an M, which you could find super useful, but 11 points is nothing to sneeze at. Nice thing also, if you don't have a bingo through the E and M, this play is very defensive against 7-letter words on your part. That brings us to your penultimate move here. 3 tiles in the bag.
Yeah, I figured there was a good chance that you would manage to block Manitou, Tinamu. Because of that, I was already looking for alternate options. But after you scored 39 points and I was down 63, I recognized the fact that I can't just do something here that maximizes my chance of playing a bingo next turn. I also have to put myself in a position that that bingo will score enough to win me the game. 'Cause if I just score 5, 10 points and you score 30, 40, I'm going to now need to score 80 or so to, depending on what you have left, to even give myself a chance of winning. So it was looking very, very, very grim. What we can determine is that there are win conditions here if I play 3 tiles, and that the best option for doing so is playing a pawn through the P in prepave, which gives me a few draws that hit bingos in 2 spots and score enough to win me the game. Um, and that wins around I think it's 4.19% of the time. Playing 2 tiles, the problem with that is then it also um, there's also going to be 1 tile left in the bag. So you then have to reanalyze position once the 2 tiles are played. And that's where it gets difficult. So I was trying to do that. I was trying to ascertain if a 2 tile play was going to score enough for me to outrun your high scoring responses. Um, and I ended up settling on playing pun for 6 points, reasoning that it seemed likely that if I drew EN, that was definitely the draw that I was looking at the most because it's a good draw, an E and an N, and it's also the most likely 2 tile draw available. I'm going to be threatening a bingo on the left side of the board and a bingo through the N of pun that I'm setting up. And you can't block both, and you might not be able to score enough to outrun both. But the only way that I saw for me not to beat you after playing pun and drawing EN is if the last tile in the bag was a Y. And lo and behold, I
Yeah.
play pun for 6 points, and I see you reaching for all of your tiles, and I'm just like, are you
The
kidding
why
me,
was
Will?
there. But I was literally sitting here thinking to myself, well, you do have incentive to open the board here. I'm not sure how exactly you would do it that lets me get a bingo, but if you happen to put an N out in just the right spot, I'm going to have a gigantic bingo. And sure enough, you play pun, and I immediately can breathe a sigh of relief. I play Unbroken for 92 points. It's crazy, right? You did get the satisfaction of hitting the actual fish that you were looking for. Unfortunately, after my bingo, it no longer matters.
And you know what? What's really hilarious, if I do hit the EN, I'm not just playing Ammo Knight, that's what I saw. I have a 91 point overlap of motif of amniote.
Which this is what makes things really crazy. If you hit EN and I don't have a bingo that just gets me out of jail free of unbroken, right? Like now I would then have to see that bingo on your rack, which is also not a given. I could easily make a lower scoring play that doesn't use my higher scoring letters to this N, and then you hit me with amniote for 90, 91 and catch me with a good tile on my rack. That is absolutely a way that you can steal this game after that. You were literally one tile away from maybe inducing a mistake from me to win this game after everything that happened in the game. After me drawing SSS blank, having the other S, hitting the spot that you created, you were that close.
It turns out that the best that I can do if you play optimally after pun is a tie. You have a variety of plays that win you the game, that outrun nominate. It actually goes back all the way to allonged, where if I hadn't challenged that word, I actually would have been in a position here where my fish would have worked
Yeah.
that amount of the time. This game was so incredibly fun, and I'm so glad we had it, and I'm very happy that it made it to a Will Anderson featurette.
Well, there you have it. Definitely one of the most memorable games of my career. Thank you so much to Josh Sokol for joining me in analyzing the game. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this format. It's really the first time I've done a video quite like this. So, again, hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching. See you next time.